I hereby call to order this regular meeting of the Board of Education for Wilmette Public School District 39 this Monday, June 18th, 2018. Will the clerk please call the roll? Here. Here.
Here.
Here.
Here. Here. Here.
Thank you. We are happy to have Principal Rachel Filippi and the Mackenzie Student Council representatives to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight.
Good evening. So we are very excited to be here. We thought Student Council leaders would be a great way to end the year as we've been reflecting on all of our successes this year. So each of the students are going to introduce themselves and talk about their favorite part of being on Student Council.
Hi, my name is Emmy. My favorite part about Student Council is making the codes for kids in the hospital.
Hi, my name is Aiden, and my favorite part of student council is going outside to learn about plants.
Hi, my name is Rocco, and my favorite part of student council was probably when I got to speak about the spirit days and why I thought we should have a certain one and not another one. And well, we had the spirit days that I thought we should have.
My name is Izzy, and I think my favorite part about Student Council is box tops because we get to donate money to another school.
Hi, my name is Liam. My favorite part about student council is working in the garden. Hi, my name is Christian. My favorite part about student council was coming up with the spirit days.
Hi, my name is Luke, and my favorite part about Student Council was working in the garden. My name is Alex, and my favorite part is also working in the garden.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate your being here tonight. Next, I would like to remind everyone, as I do before each meeting, that this is a public meeting and we are all among our neighbors and fellow residents. Appropriate conduct is expected from everyone. We ask that people speak only when called upon, that everyone treat each other kindly and with proper respect and refrain from distracting behaviors, such as loud conversations, cheering, clapping, or booing. Thank you. Next, I seek a motion to approve the minutes of the May 21st, 2018 regular and executive session meetings.
I move to approve the minutes of the May 21st, 2018 regular and executive session meeting.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded with one extra syllable. Board members, are there any comments, errors, or omissions in the minutes? Okay, seeing none, I'd like to have, all in favor of approving the minutes as amended, please as submitted, please indicate by saying yay.
Yay.
Yay. Motion carries by general consent. Now, this is the first opportunity for the audience to address the board with public comments. Are there any audience members that would like to speak at this time? Okay, seeing none, we will move on. The next item is board reports. We will start off with our committee reports, and the first of those is the School Finance Committee. Mr. Panzica, I believe you have that report.
Yes. The Finance Committee met as part of the Committee of the Whole on June 11th at the McCallion Center. The first topic was kindergarten enrichment. As this is a large capital expense, we discussed this in the Finance Committee. However, Ms. Schaff will summarize as part of the facilities report also. Related to the finance portion, we discussed ways to do two things. One, spread out the cost to avoid the reserves dropping too low in any given year. This included reprioritizing other capital projects. And 2, we inserted several evaluation points. If enrichment is not meeting the needs of the community or we have unanticipated revenue decreases that impact reserves, we now have multiple places where we could slow down or halt future expenses. With these safeguards, the topic moves on to the Finance Committee. Next, we discuss student fees. As part of the detailed investigation of our music program, we looked at many items, but one in particular was the concern of students being pulled out of too many classes. Since it was recommended that jazz band become an after-school option, we discussed the fees for this. We also discussed fees for replacing some of the services that used to be supplied by Youth Connection. There'll be more on these topics later. We reviewed a table of property tax appeals since 2007. The rules have been applied consistently and have resulted in a net savings to the district. We discussed some background items such as July payment resolution that will also be discussed later tonight. Finally, we continued to dive deeper into our expenditures. This month we covered student services. We flagged cross-categorical services as an area for a deeper dive. And we targeted our next meeting in August to prioritize which categories we should dive deeper into first so that we can cover them earlier in the year with the goal of covering all the areas over the next year or so.
Great, thank you very much. Our next 2 committee reports are Facilities Development and Strategy, and Ms. Shev, I believe you have both of those.
Right, I do. The Facilities Development Committee also met on June 11th as a part of the Committee of the Whole meeting here at the McKalian Education Center. We discussed 2 topics. The first was Highcrest Phase 2, which will include building the Learning Commons, and it will also include upgrades to the special education classrooms to include a life skills center where the old offices are currently located. Our architects explained that the Highcrest Learning Commons Committee has been meeting to discuss desired features and layout for the new Learning Commons. The committee discussed at length the issue of using some of the current courtyard garden space for the Learning Commons, which is of particular concern to certain community members and parents who have been involved with the garden over the years. There will be a committee formed to meet in the fall to discuss ideas for improvements to the gardens and integration of the Learning Commons and gardens, and possibly creating another garden to make up for space used by the Learning Commons. Details of the architectural designs will be refined over the summer, and we should have initial cost estimates in August. The second topic of conversation was kindergarten enrichment. In the last few months, we have been discussing how to offer a kindergarten enrichment program in District 39. Since January, the committee and administration have calculated space and construction costs to offer kindergarten enrichment at all 4 elementary schools. We've reviewed estimates of operating costs for the program and have surveyed parent interest. Additionally, we have researched the alternative idea of modular classrooms to offer kindergarten enrichment sooner and at a reduced upfront capital cost. Since our last Committee of the Whole meeting, the board members and administrators visited other districts that use modular classrooms, and as you will hear in a report tonight, we no longer recommend modular classrooms as we have serious concerns about safety and much higher costs than we first anticipated. After much discussion and number crunching, the administration is now recommending a 2-phase construction project to add classrooms and make improvements to all 4 elementary buildings to provide kindergarten enrichment beginning school year 2021. A report about the current recommendation for our kindergarten enrichment discussion will be presented later this evening. The next facilities meeting is August 20th at 8 a.m. The Strategy Committee also met as a part of the Committee of the Whole on June 11th. We discussed 2 topics. The first is the CRC 1819 topic. Later this evening, the CRC will present the results of this year's research on differentiation and personalized learning. They've already discussed next year's topics, which we will learn more about later tonight. We also discussed the 2017-18 strategic plan review, and the administration just simply discussed with us their report updating the current strategic plan, and we will hear the full report this evening. The next meeting for the Strategy Committee will be August 27th before the Board of Education meeting.
Thank you very much. And speaking of the CRC, with Ms. Sternweiler, you have the CRC report.
Yes. The CRC met on June 4th. Ray gave his strategic plan updates, which largely focused on the upcoming High Crest construction and kindergarten enrichment, both of which you will hear more about in the reports tonight. A lot of redundancy here. The CRC board unanimously approved the final 2018 CRC Personalized Learning and Differentiation Report that's being presented tonight. Next, the CRC proceeded with their annual election of new officers for 2018-19. And I'd like to congratulate Maggie O'Brien, who is the newly elected president of the CRC, and Stephanie Donovan, who's the new vice president. After that, 2 new CRC topics were discussed for 2018-19, school nutrition and K-4 mobile learning. Both topics sparked healthy debate and a wonderful discussion, but in the end, the board unanimously voted in favor of K-4 mobile learning as the topic for next year. The next meeting of the CRC is set for September 4th, which I think is a Tuesday. Changed it? Okay.
September 11th, great. Thank you very much. And now we have the legislative update from Ms. Kearney. Thank you.
Thank you. Since our last meeting, I actually have some concrete stuff to report, as both the House and the Senate agreed to a budget and the governor signed it. I'm going to read this verbatim because there's a lot in it and I don't want to forget anything. After receiving revenue estimates from the Governor's Office of Management and Budget and the Legislative Commission on Government Forecasting and Accountability, that were really never too far apart, the governor and leaders agreed on a revenue prediction of $38.5 billion, which therefore enabled them to get the wheels turning and come to an agreement on the budget. For elementary and secondary, I'm really just going to give the highlights as it pertains to education interests. For elementary and secondary education, the appropriations bill, HB 109, increases the amount for the funding formula by $350 million. Of this, $50 million is earmarked for the property tax relief fund that was created in Senate Bill 1947, the education bill that was passed last fall, enacted last year, that established the evidence-based funding formula. Mandated categorical grants would be funded at the current levels, and early childhood education will see an increase of $50 million. The budget implementation bill, commonly referred to as BIMP, HB 3342, includes substantive components necessary to put the budget into place. These were designed to make sure the budget is balanced, and several cost savings provisions for the state are embedded in the BIMP bill. For the teachers' retirement system, this is the real highlight of the budget as it pertains to education. The bill would reduce the amount of end-of-service salary increases without additional contribution of employers to 3% from 6%. Under this provision, a school district would have to pay the calculated normal retirement costs for a TRS employee for any salary increase above 3% if the salary for that year of service is to be calculated for the pension purposes of the employee. Also, it creates an optional buyout provision for Tier 2 TRS employees who are no longer active participants in TRS but who have yet received any TRS pension benefits. The individual would have the option of collecting 60% of the estimated present value of the pension amount in a lump sum upfront payment in exchange for forfeiting the future pension amounts and leaving the system. Additionally, it created an optional buyout for provision for Tier 1 TRS employees of future compounded cost of living adjustments, COLA. The individual would have the option of collecting 70% of the estimated present value of future compounded COLA amounts in a lump sum upfront payment in exchange for limiting future COLA payments at a non-compounding rate of 1.5%. In addition to bills to note that also passed through the legislature outside of the budget were one from Senator Menard. This bill approved to mandate statewide teacher salary increases. This would be phased in over 4 years with the goal of getting to $40,000 in year 2023. Additionally, a teacher shortage bill was approved. This legislation was designed to ease the shortage of regular classroom teachers and substitute teachers. And that's it for now. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. And that brings us to information items and written communications.
Yes, the board received written communication from Katie Scullion regarding the new Cheer ERB CTP4 8th grade placement test results, and from Karen Glennemeyer regarding High Crest Learning Commons in the outdoor classroom.
Thank you. And administrative announcements are next.
Yes, 8th grade graduation we had on June 12th at New Trier Gates Gym. It was an incredible evening, a great celebration as 444 students proudly moved to high school. And for next year, we already have our tentative date for June 11th. July board meeting, we're going to be able to conclude all of our business this evening, so we will not need a meeting in the month of July. Our next meeting is on August 27th with a budget hearing meeting at 7 p.m. and the regular meeting to follow. Also tonight, we're going to be asking the board to approve a letter agreement with the support staff union. The technology stipends listed in the support staff contract are no longer meet the needs of District 39, so we've eliminated a lot of stipends and we've added a few new ones. The stipends have been revised to reflect our current usage, and these changes were previously reviewed with the board and are ready for your approval. CRC members at large, per the CRC bylaws, the board approves members at large. For next year's CRC, we're asking you to approve Beth Alpert, Allison Buonamici, and Aaron Stone. And then this month we received 3 FOIA. Gicelli of Smart Procedure requesting any and all purchasing records from February 21st to 2018 to present. James Bachman of Illinois Retired Teachers Association requesting the names and information for 2018 retiring teachers, and Jim Couples requesting superintendent contract information.
Great, and that takes us to our strategy plan updates.
And the first thing we look at tonight is the CRC report. This is its annual report. I welcome CRC President Meg Kateman to the podium.
Yes, please.
All right. Okay, so this year the CRC looked at differentiation and personalized learning. We had 2 subcommittees. And so I'm going to go through differentiation first. So what is differentiation? It is an approach to teaching in which the educators actively plan for teaching to different learning needs. And really in District 39, it is expected to be standard practice for all the teachers. And so our question really, the question of the differentiation subcommittee was, are there ways that differentiation could be more efficiently or more effectively practiced in the district? And so what the differentiation subcommittee did some online research, went to Walden Elementary School in Deerfield District 109, surveyed teachers, and also talked to the principals at all of the District 39 schools. And their recommendations are based on all of these, all this research that they've done. So the first recommendation involves peer observation and expert teachers. And so the CRC is recommending support for peer observation and or expert teachers, including supporting teachers' facility for differentiated instruction by providing opportunities for peer observations, both in District 39 as well as possibly in neighboring schools or neighboring school districts, organized and structured in there as part of their professional development. And then also consider having principals within the various schools select teachers who are mentors or expert teachers, either in a given content area or in a given area of technology. And they would be kind of the expert, the go-to person in that area for teachers to go to within their own schools. Or, you know, I could see also, especially for High Crest WJHS, that could be like one campus and teachers could go to someone at either one of those schools. But so they'd have someone nearby, but also as part of their professional development could go and observe. The second recommendation is, and this is more for the elementary schools, the 4 elementary schools, involves grade level subject structure. And in this case, the CRC is recommending a consistent grade level subject structure across the district in line with best practices. And what they found, especially from the surveys and from talking to the principals, was that in certain subjects there seemed to be differences at the different elementary schools in terms of how subjects were taught. And so what the recommendation was that came out of this was that district curriculum administration and the differentiation support teachers research and recommend a consistent grade level subject structure that would support best practices of differentiation and drive student achievement. And then as that happens, asking for support for the teachers during structural changes by providing additional professional development and resources. And that was a consistent theme in the comments of the teachers, that they asked for professional development and time and support during when changes were made. The third recommendation has to do with technology and other resources. And in this case, the CRC recommends investigating resources and technology to see if they can be better deployed in enhancing differentiation. So this is 2 parts. First is evaluating teacher use and potential need for increased access to technology. And this actually ties in nicely with the chosen topic for CRC for next year, which is mobile learning in K through 4. But we're looking at evaluating the potential need for increased access to technology and resources so that tools are available when teachers need them. Some of the comments focused on, sometimes an iPad or technology would be really useful to help me differentiate in my classroom, but I don't have access to it when I need it. So that was really a suggestion that the resources be looked at to make sure that they are available when they are needed by the teachers so that they can best differentiate. And then the second one was to have the differentiation support teachers make recommendations if there are programs or apps that would help teachers maybe differentiate better. And there were many comments from teachers saying, hey, I would really like to reach as wide, as diverse a group of students as possible. High ceiling, low floor. Are there apps? Is there technology that can help me do this? Are there things that can help me really best know where my students are at and be able to reach them? So yes, I want to differentiate as a teacher. Are there tools that can help me do that? So that's what, knowing that one teacher is divided among, maybe 25 kids, how can we use technology to help them help the kids? And then the fourth recommendation is planning time. So I'm going to skip to the heart of the recommendation, which is before considering ways to provide teachers with more time, what the CRC is recommending is that the district evaluate how to better utilize the common planning time that is already available to the teachers and identify how to support and best structure this currently available time for improved collaboration leading to teacher learning and application to practice. So how do we use and better structure what they already have before we look at more time? So those are the recommendations that involve differentiation. Personalized learning, and this was a very different and less traditional subcommittee path because personalized learning is a relatively new concept. So much of the subcommittee's time was really spent determining what's the definition and really doing a lot of research into what is personalized learning. There's a lot of information out there, but a lot of different definitions. So the subcommittee did a ton of research, looked at various models, looked at how it's being implemented both locally and around the country. They looked at some charter schools that are solely personalized learning based. They looked at schools, many locally, that have implemented personalized learning as a part of their curriculum. We, the CRC as a whole, had a presentation from Dr. Reed Stevens, who's at Northwestern. And he developed the FUSE curriculum, which is a personalized learning curriculum that's been implemented at several schools around in the area. And finally, the personalized learning subcommittee looked at, is personalized learning strictly a high tech? When you see personalized learning, it's often being touted by people like Mark Zuckerberg or Bill Gates, and everybody thinks, oh, it's all computer-based and high tech. And as you'll see in the recommendations, it's not. It's really a combination of high tech and low tech. And when I'm going to go to the definition, and you'll see that it's really an attitude as much as it is, or more, even more than it is, a program. So the definition of personalized learning, and this is probably the key recommendation. So the definition is that personalized learning is an instructional approach where learning is student-driven and student-initiated. Students exercise their voice and choice to set the pace of learning and how and when they learn. One of the biggest things that I took away from Reed Stevens' talk when he presented to us was, he said students get to put a bit of themselves into their school day every day with personalized learning. And I thought that was just very powerful when he said that. So this is the definition that the Personalized Learning Subcommittee recommended that the district adopt. Secondly, second recommendation is for ongoing investigation. And District 39 is encouraged to continue the investigation of personalized learning, as there are potential benefits for students and teachers. So this is a concept that is evolving. So we recommend continuing to look at it and look at it as it evolves. Evaluate existing personalized learning programs. So there are a number of companies that offer a package of preset personalized learning projects. There will probably be more that are being developed. FUSE is one. There are many other commercial programs out there. They come with a wide variety of price tags, but we do recommend that the district look at some of those to see if there is one that actually fits the needs of the district. And so just in conclusion, so it is the belief of the CRC that careful and thoughtful implementation of our recommendations will enhance the educational experience for all of our students. And what our research has shown is really that when differentiation and personalized learning are optimally implemented, all students will benefit. When teachers are given support to make these programs work, there were many comments that teachers were nervous about personalized learning and nervous to some extent about differentiation. If you're trying to push more on us, how will we have support to make it really be effective? So if teachers are given adequate support, when they're given adequate support to make these programs work for all students see significant benefits. And importantly, this includes the students who were previously marginalized or who were previously disengaged. And you do see this with personalized learning in particular. That's where the research has been, but you would see it with both. And then meeting students where they are, allowing them to put some of themselves into their school day, and helping them to truly engage in their learning process can help all of our students and continue to make District 39 a place where all of our students can thrive. Any questions?
Great. Well, thank you very much, first of all, and thank you for all of the work throughout the year for both the report, and thank you to all of the other board members of the CRC for their work this year. Do the board members have any questions?
So thank you for this well thought out and researched report. I really appreciate it. So when I was reading it, the one surprise I had was the research on what you call subject level structure in elementary school. Do you know from your research, kind of in what grade does that start in District 39?
In what grade does?
This idea of leveled classes start.
I think what they were actually, so the subject level
Yes.
recommendation.
It's recommendation 2 or
Two,
B?
yeah. I think what they were talking about was actually consistency of curriculum.
I mean, there's the scope and sequence, but this is different than that. This sounds like you're saying that you would have kind of high, medium, and low achievers? No? Katie, can you help?
So you're talking about the grade level subject structure, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so what they're really looking at is that what I'm understanding from the subcommittee is that, so Mackenzie currently puts students in different math classes. Central does not. So they will move students into different math classes for different units.
Based on ability?
Based on a pretest. Other elementary schools do not do that. So I think what the subcommittee's recommendation is based on is let's have that be consistent. And in fact, if you look at their report, their portion of the report, I think that they are actually recommending against pulling them out. Yeah. So that the recommendation is just that there be a consistent and research-based subject structure. That's what the recommendation is.
Right, and so I just had a question about when do we start in the schools that we're doing this? What grade are we starting? Is that third grade?
So I don't know if you can hear me very well, but one of the differentiation strategies is flexible grouping. And so that can take on many different forms. It could be cross-classroom. It could be within the classroom. What the CRC subcommittee has learned is that there is variance in how it's implemented, but the students are the driving force of those instructional approaches. So if it's warranted for a whole class instruction or to be in flexible groups based on their needs and a pre-assessment of their skills, then that's the decision that the teachers make, either collectively as a group or individually within the classroom. As far as differing levels of math, for example, that begins at 5th grade. So we differentiate, based on concepts and skills as students develop through K-4, and then in 5th grade, we do have an enrichment portion, which delivers instruction in the same way with a math enrichment teacher, and then we have the accelerated program starting in 6th grade.
So just to follow up with that question.
Sure.
How, for those kids that do move classes, I guess, how is it decided what kids go where?
So students are pre-assessed based on concepts that will be taught in the upcoming unit, and then based on their readiness, a teacher may group students accordingly to common readiness, and then make decisions on instruction pathways that way.
And that's the part where consistency is needed more.
Correct.
Across the schools, but I also read it as they were recommending that if you had to make a choice for consistency, the choice would be not to move kids from class to class, would be to stay with the homeroom teacher, and the homeroom teacher instead differentiate. Did I read that incorrectly?
Right.
No, do not.
The recommendation is stated as such.
And that's for the lower grades, because up at the upper grades, or did you mean?
It's
in
K4.
K4, okay, that's what I thought. That's how I read it, okay.
Other questions from board members? Go ahead.
So just kind of a couple background questions. Good report. It's always hard to summarize a year's worth of work. Did you identify any specifics on how Learning Commons either helps, doesn't help, neutral, as far as differentiation, and I mean the two topics tonight?
The committee didn't, neither subcommittee specifically looked at Learning Commons as part of differentiation or personalized learning. Although I think you could probably use them as part of, I mean, I would guess, but we didn't specifically look at that.
I think that's why we did Learning Commons, but it's always nice to have, you know, additional data around that, and, you know, pluses and minuses. The other one is you mentioned in specific District 109. Is that a best practice school? Was there a reason that was picked as like this is a role model, or is that a school that we could get some valuable information from, but just more convenient than?
I believe someone had a person on the subcommittee had a personal connection there, and it was a school that had implemented, and it's in their in the subcommittee report that they had implemented a curriculum over a period of time, or differentiation, or over a period of time. But it's also one of the subcommittee members had a personal connection there.
So it wasn't necessarily best practices or grades, you know, any kind of rating that would say that this is a goal or a higher achieving type of environment?
What they said was they've been shifting its model of instruction based on research over the past 5 years. And each school has two instructional coaches and expert teachers, and so I think
so it's an example rather than a best practice.
I think it was identified as having some of the elements of best practice, and also because of the personal connection.
Thank you.
Other questions, Mr. Yep.
Thank you for this report. It's fantastic. I actually saw the presentation by Dr. Reed, by Dr. Stevens, and it was amazing. But I have a question, and I had a question then too. The excuse me, the recommendation at the end about personalized learning, that the CRC subcommittee does not endorse an entire school day for something like the FUSE program. Did you guys discuss kind of what you saw for that? Because I listened to the discussion about it. I know everyone was very excited about it as the possibility of kind of almost like a seed, I guess, as a program that could introduce the district. It's like a kind of pre-made.
And very specifically, in Dr. Stevens' presentation, with the FUSE curriculum, it started out as one class period that students came in and chose from a variety of personalized learning projects. And it started in one class period in one grade. And then what he said based on their research, and I'm sorry, I don't know if this is in your reports anywhere, but it then, once it was introduced in this one period, and this is actually what the subcommittee found in most of the schools that had implemented personalized learning. It was introduced typically in one period as part of a technology curriculum or something like that. Katie, correct me if I'm wrong. But it was introduced in one period, and then elements of that personalized learning would trickle into the rest of the curriculum. And I think the other thing the subcommittee found was that there are elements of personalized learning already going on in the district. And I think that was part of part of the recommendation, that second recommendation, was also to look at and find where is the district already incorporating elements of personalized learning? Where are students already having choice, and where is there already student-driven learning going on?
And then possibly adding this to infuse more,
exactly.
Okay.
So that students can put even more of themselves into their day.
And then I had one other question about that. I had a question then, and I wasn't sure if anyone looked into it further. Because when you were looking at those programs, I did have a question about differently abled learners in those classrooms and how those learners thrive or do not thrive in that setting. They seemed somewhat chaotic. Were you able to get more information about that? I just was curious.
Yeah, I know he spoke specifically to students who were previously more disengaged, or students who maybe had attention issues. But if anyone looked into it, I didn't hear about looking into students with different types of learning disabilities.
Just curious, not necessarily even learning disabilities, just because those classrooms, from what I saw, they're amazing on one hand, but they seem also, there's an aspect of self-direction can be chaotic, and that aspect, when you have, we are a very inclusive district, and it's just something that, that I was concerned about. Just when you have a very inclusive district, you also have a lot of students who have attention issues.
Yeah, I also think it could be a really good environment for peer mentoring.
Yes.
And programs like that.
I agree. So it was just a point of interest. Thank you very much.
Okay, another question?
Did you want to go first? No, I was talking to myself. Okay. I was just wondering, so when Deerfield chose to implement, do you know who they used or how they went about starting the implementation? What support did they get and give their teachers?
I do not know. That is something I would have to address with the subcommittee specifically and get back to you.
Okay.
I'm good.
Other questions? I do have one question, which is, we talk a lot about how to measure the impact of these things, and of course we talk a lot recently about growth mindsets and how to measure progress over time. Did you all go at all into how we should think about measuring the impact of anything that we implement here?
Not that I am aware of. Katie, do you know in terms of the personalized learning subcommittee?
I can add that this is something that we will be looking at. We have the basis of our report will be a lot of these things are things that we need to look at in our next steps. But I do know that school districts that have implemented personalized learning have found out a couple things. One is that it's not 100% for everybody. Traditional education is absolutely important for kids who need structure, so that's for sure. And then kids start setting their own learning targets too in the fully fused form. That kids are setting their own growth targets.
Yeah. Did you want to add anything? No, that's I guess the other, so that was specifically about personalized learning. I think the other piece would be differentiation. If we're thinking about making changes to, how we pull kids out or don't pull kids out or whatever we do, I think it'll be really important to start, to make sure that we're looking at how the change in growth works and not just achievement. We talked about achievement a little bit in this report, but really looking at the growth.
And I'll take that back a little bit. One of the things that the differentiation subcommittee did look at or did think about, they didn't put it in as a final recommendation, but when they were talking about technology, one of the things they did talk about was, okay, do we look at map testing or do we incorporate that to help teachers differentiate and then use that going forward to see how differentiation is working? So there was a discussion of, did not put it in the final recommendations, but there was discussion of using that to assist with differentiation and see how well it's working.
Okay.
So I have one question about the planning time, because when I first started reading it, I was thinking, oh my gosh, we just redid our whole schedule and we've got all this extra collaboration time. So I appreciate the recommendation of really taking a look of how we are using the planning time. And is that something that we can do? There's a lot of things for our teachers to talk about, in their common planning time. Is there room to add more time to talk differentiation?
This again is K4, and I think the CRC report was spot on. It's not necessarily about adding more planning time, but using it more efficiently and effectively.
Yeah.
So we just had 1 year of this, and we've made improvements, but we're absolutely not finished yet. We have more development.
Would it be helpful for the board to see the comments? Because I have the comments from the teacher survey, so I don't know if it would be helpful to see the survey or comments from the survey.
Maybe not for us,
I
but maybe
think,
for you guys.
yeah, I think more for
More
the
for the
administration and then,
administration.
Okay.
and then,
Yeah.
you know, a condensed version of conclusions out of that. Yeah, go ahead.
I'd one more. It probably isn't as much for the CRC as it is for the next steps of looking at the CRC. I keep always coming back to how well do we prepare our students for New Trier. And one of the, my favorite statistics recently is the percentage of our children that are ready for geometry, so to have learned enough in our program that they have the algebra background and they go on to geometry. And it's double the rate of the other feeder schools. So when we're looking at, you know, what we do, it's important to remember what we're doing well. So that's number one. And number two, I would like to see that an equivalent double for ELA. You know, something to keep in mind as you're doing this. I mean, I think that is a best practice, at least in our area, that we've done in math. And part of that is because we have a bigger school district, we have more options than, you know, a school district that only has 60 kids in a grade. But how can we then extend that into ELA so that we can brag about that also?
Thank you.
I just want to say something to Dr. Lechner and Mrs. Lee. And following up with what I think Ellen was saying too, I'm happy you brought up the word structure. It is important. And I can't help but flash to my own 3 children, where if the teacher, the facilitator, was waiting for one of them to speak up and self-direct, she'd be waiting for a really long time. And I don't think that necessarily, you know, says anything about someone's ability. It is a different learner. And I want to hear how that's looked at when we're looking at this, to the degree where it doesn't, you know, suddenly put these children, these structured children, you know, in
right. And it's also very age and developmental as well.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot more structure K4, and as you get towards high school, college, it becomes much more personalized. So
I get the teacher facilitator thing, but I can't say that it doesn't make me nervous every time I read the teacher as a facilitator. So but thank you I think you dead on understood what Ellen was saying and thank you.
Mr. Cisaretti.
Yeah, you stole my thunder again. Ms. Kearney. Yeah, you know, you waited a long time. I appreciate it. Okay, I appreciate this report. It's great. I think from my perspective, what it does is that it articulates, definitely embodies our values as a district, which I think we all appreciate, and it gets us to what our district thinks personalized learning is, which I think was the goal, right? Sort of define it, and what I would urge the district to do is to get away from this term personalized learning, given the associations that it has with, you know, big industry and technology companies and facilitation and things like that, and get to our own terminology of what this is and what it's going to be. I think that might be useful, because the term doesn't really mean a whole lot, as we've discovered. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Last call for comments. Thank you very much for the presentation, for all of the work throughout the year. Thank you to all of the members of the committee. Great, that takes us to kindergarten enrichment.
Yes, we've had a big year of review, and the administration is now prepared to make a recommendation for kindergarten enrichment. As you've heard earlier this evening from the strategy committee, a phased school instruction project is a viable option for the Board of Education to consider, and Katie Lee and Gail Buscemi have this report.
Come on up, Gail. Thank you. So District 39 has conducted a thorough investigation into the possibilities of offering families fee-based half-day kindergarten enrichment program. The journey began with a space study conducted by STR Architects, and using their estimate of close to $5.7 million, administrators sent the first of 2 surveys in order to gauge interest by district families. The results returned in favor of a fee-based half-day kindergarten enrichment program with an estimated tuition set at $6,500 per student. Based on these survey results, members of the board and administration searched for alternative options for space and funding that would have the least amount of impact on fund balances. So the first option proposed was to build modular units or build classrooms onto the existing buildings. Second option proposed was to build modular units since it appeared to have the least impact on fund balances. However, after many meetings and presentations, tour of a neighboring district, and 5 other district interviews, a new third option is being presented tonight. Half-day kindergarten enrichment program implementation phases would coincide with the proposed construction phases. Implementation phase 1 would require a half-day kindergarten enrichment program could be offered to District 39 families as an optional fee-based program at 2 elementary schools starting in the fall of 2020. Tuition established at $6,500 per student, and lottery-based enrollment would allow for families across the district to participate. Implementation phase 2 would offer a half-day kindergarten enrichment program to District 39 families as an optional fee-based program at 4 of the elementary schools. And the tuition established at $6,500 per student, and enrollment would allow for families to take advantage of a kindergarten enrichment program at their child's home school. This new phased option indicates a few benefits. This plan may help maintain the operating fund balance above the 30% threshold, since the cost of construction would be spread over 4 years, and also tuition would offset costs along the way. Another benefit is that the phases provide time for District 39 to review program effectiveness, as well as measure sufficient parent interest. Are there any questions?
Thank you, board members. So this is, oh, go ahead.
I don't have any questions, but Katie, good job. And I just want to say, I do think that this is the compromise we have all been waiting for. For decades, we've been looking for a solution, and this gets us there. I think that we're respecting the fund balance, the conservative fiscal tradition that we've continued, and found a way to gradually move from enrichment to kindergarten. So I personally find this very exciting.
Other comments? Go ahead.
I agree.
I agree also.
Should we take a vote on this?
As do
I think we should take a vote. I think we all are a little proud of ourselves for coming up with
I'm considering what we'll be talking about later tonight, I wanted to specifically call out to Ms. Buscemi that this process has been very complicated. The number of the options that we've been able to delve into deeply is because you came up with them, or fleshed them out so that we had enough information to know what we were doing. I particularly appreciate the thought and the effort of coming up with the modular idea. I mean, we did due diligence. We looked at it. It had lots of pluses. It had some minuses, and as we delved into it deeper, we found out some of the minuses were larger than we expected. But having that option and having done that research is very important so that we've reached a point where we now are agreeing that we've got to a stable point. So I appreciate the work that you've done on that. I'm sure we'll have opportunities in the future, but I'll already missing the fact that you won't be at this table next year.
Other comments or questions?
I do. If we're thinking, I think we'd be remiss in that this all started with the idea of a parent, new to the district, who came to me and then to Ray with this idea. And then Tracy had the final idea of kind of separating it and staggering it. So I think that there were kind of lots of phases along the way. And it's a reason to celebrate.
Anything else? Yeah, well, for those who haven't gotten to see all of the many pieces of this, it really has been, in my mind, I personally want to thank the board and also the administration, because I do think this has been an example of a place where we have found a potential solution to a request the community has made of us or of previous boards for literally decades. And I think this, frankly, started off with even the fiscal conservatism of the 2011 referendum and the subsequent board since then. And that's actually put us in a position where we can do this. So there have been a large number of faces here tonight, but also for many years before, that have led to this being possible. And so thank you very much. I think we should feel good about it. So thank you all for the reports and all of the work. And with that, we will move on to our review of the 2017-18 D39 strategic plan.
Yes, and Kate Lee will also have this report. But I just want to remind everybody about our strategic cycle and how it works. In June, the board receives the new CRC report, as we did tonight, with its recommendations. That lays the groundwork for our next strategic plan. Also in this meeting, we get to look at how the strat plan worked from the previous year and what those results were. And that gives us our recommendations and next steps. Over the summer, the administrators review both reports, and they begin drafting the next strategic plan. In August, the superintendent provides a response to the CRC report that came in June. And then in August and September, the board strategy committee reviews a draft of the strat plan. And then by September, we have a plan ready for your approval. And with that, we have the administration waiting to anxiously share their results.
Thank you, Dr. Lechner. We are all here to present to you the review of the 2017-2018 District 39 strategic plan. And each introductory slide will display the intended outcome, the status of each, and any applicable next steps. The first is going to look very familiar. We just spoke about the kindergarten enrichment, and so we will continue on to the next initiative. So District 39 Instrumental Music Program. The administration has met the intended outcome as recommendations were presented to the Board of Education. And District 39's Instrumental Music Program will be fully implemented and managed by District 39 staff and administration beginning next school year. Modifications to the small group instruction sessions called sectionals have been completed to ensure that participating students will miss no more than 4 classes of the same class per quarter. In order to accomplish this task, Wilmette Junior High's jazz ensembles practices will be offered as an extracurricular activity. For a fee of $125, students who join the after-school club will engage in 29 rehearsals throughout the year. Next year, this initiative will shift to become a continuing initiative on the 2018-19 strategic plan so that the administration can monitor and gather feedback from students and parents regarding the sectional rotation schedule modifications. Like the CRC, the administrators have also taken on the goal of learning about personalized learning. This new initiative was written as a 2-year goal, and so the administration could invest in learning about this instructional model. Next year, the work will continue as we review recommendations made by the CRC and develop a plan for investigation for the 2018-19 school year. This year, administrators dedicated time to learning through professional articles and visiting and interviewing other districts, as well as attending workshops or conferences, and as a result, we've drafted this definition of personalized learning for District 39. It's going to sound awfully similar to what you heard earlier. Personalized learning is a guided instructional approach where learning is student-initiated, student-driven, and teacher-facilitated. It allows for learning experiences to address distinct learning needs. In a personalized learning environment, students take an active role in their learning by exercising their voice and choice in setting learning outcomes, establishing learning pace, and monitoring progress. The first of the continuing initiative is school climate, and Dr. Denise Thrasher will present an update.
So one of the issues that we handled through this this goal was looking at our social emotional learning curriculum, our second step. So a committee that was made up of gen ed teachers, special ed teachers, including early childhood teachers, occupational therapists, and administrators. We met multiple times during this school year to investigate curriculums, universal screeners, and student and staff perceptions of our current curriculum. After considering other social emotional curriculums such as Leader in Me, Facing History and Ourselves, Positive Action, Lion Quest, and Open Circle, the committee recommendation is that we continue with the Second Step program. Second Step is by far the most comprehensive curriculum available that offers a cohesive approach to social emotional skill development in early childhood through 8th grade. However, the committee will continue their work in seeking how to improve student and teacher buy-in for grades 5 through 8. We also looked at social conflict versus bullying. Each building addresses peer relations, social conflict, and bullying through education, programming, and instruction. Grades K through 4 use the Second Step Bullying Supplemental Unit as direct instruction to educate students on features of bullying, response, and reporting. Grades 5 to 8 promote being an upstander, reporting, and responding through activities, assemblies, and discussions. Each year, the Behavior Policy Practice Review Committee meets to discuss policy, practice, and protocols. The February 2018 revision of our policy 7:180, Preventing Bullying and Other Aggressive Behaviors, stipulates that an annual report to the Board of Education be made outlining the number of found bullying cases. This school year, we are reporting two cases that were found during the school year of bullying. The committee, the Social Emotional RTI Committee, also looked at universal screeners and what would be the best tool to use to measure social emotional learning in our students. After an investigation has been selected that we use the DESA, which you can see what that stands for their elementary age students. All 2nd and 4th graders will be assessed on these 8 competency areas 2 times a year by teachers. Additional students can be screened through teacher referral, and information gleaned will provide a snapshot of the student's overall social emotional competencies. Students scoring below a certain criteria will be flagged, and then teachers will conduct a more in-depth assessment that will support plans for intervention. For students in the grades 5-8, we'll be using the MESH assessment. And this is a self-assessment that students will do, be taken by students in grades 5th through 8th grade. It assesses the 4 above areas mentioned and provides teachers with individual student reports, as well as an assessment of the school climate from the student's perspective. So social emotional learning is an ongoing district initiative, and next year we will report out on the use of the 2 new universal screening tools, changes made it to the Second Step that's to make it more responsive to grades 5 through 8, their learning styles, and the results of any recommendations from we're doing a pilot with Facing History and Ourselves program. This is going to begin this summer with 2 summer writing projects.
Student growth, or response to growth intervention. District 39 has a well-developed multi-tier approach to identifying and supporting students with learning and behavior needs called response to intervention. And we have made some progress toward developing a similar model of supports for high-achieving students and their growth as learners. And as a district, our goal has always been to use student, school, and district data to promote growth for all learners. So using our defined goal, the next step was to identify the growth model that will assist in identifying students with the need for a growth plan. And we have identified a student growth model that uses percentiles to group students of similar levels of achievement. And this model is embedded in the measures of academic progress, also known as MAP, our new assessment, and captures achievement and growth in 4 quadrants: the low achievement, high growth, low achievement, low growth, and high achievement, low growth. As we have shared, knowing that one single measure does not provide enough information for a completed assessment of growth, a small group of teachers gathered this spring and engaged in discussions surrounding components of a learner profile. These conversations are important to determine the difference between theory versus practice. So I'd like to show you one example. The intent of a learner profile is for students and teachers to collaboratively communicate and reflect on the student progress. This is an example of a learner profile created by Ann Bishop. She is a 6th grade science teacher. This is her interpretation of how to translate the learner profile factors into a dynamic, interactive document. As you can see, teachers want to encourage goal setting in academic as well as social, emotional, or behaviors. In addition, teachers reflected that asking students about their learning preferences, strengths, and challenges is important for a learner profile. This may be a template of all of the information, but the way in which the teacher and the student interact could be designed that's most appropriate for the class and the age. So the intent, as you can see in the left side upper right-hand corner, it says last update. It's intended to be dynamic in that the students can continuously report more information as the year progresses. So this summer, we will be compiling a guidance document that will focus on monitoring, promoting, and supporting student growth as an extension of our well-established response to intervention practices. As is current practice, the Board of Education is presented with a fall assessment report in September, October each year, and starting next year, growth quadrant data will be added to the reporting format. Next is student attendance, and Dr. Romy DeCristofaro will present an update on school attendance.
Under the Every Student Succeed Act, chronic absenteeism will reflect 10% of a school's overall quality score, and starting in October 2018, this score will be included in the 2018 school report card. The lowest 5% of schools with one or more underperforming subgroups will be identified for targeted intervention. Fortunately, District 39 has already taken many steps to improve positive attendance and reduce chronic absences, putting us at an advantage when compared with other Illinois schools and districts. In our first year of implementation, progress was made and many of our efforts continued into this school year. Through our analysis of chronic absence data last year, we learned that the most common reasons for chronic absences outside of vacation, illness, and parent leniency were reasons associated with school refusal, specifically avoidance and escape. As such, in our second year of implementation, we provided staff and parents with resources and trainings on building resiliency and supporting students struggling with school anxiety and avoidance. This graph shows attendance trends in District 39 over the last 6 years. The green bar represents the percentage of students with positive attendance, which continues to trend up. Positive attendance is defined as being in school for 95% of the time or more, or having fewer than 9 absences. While we fell short of our 75% goal, the percentage of students with positive attendance has increased from 64% in 2013 to 72% in 2018, and we have improved by 5% since we initiated this goal 2 years ago. The yellow bar represents our Tier 2 category. This category includes students who have between 9 and 17.5 absences during a school year. This group has decreased from 27% in 2016 to 23% in 2018, suggesting that these students are gradually moving into the positive attendance group. The red bar represents the percentage of students in the chronically absent category. Chronic absence rates were at a high in District 39 during the 2014-15 school year, and our efforts to reduce chronic absences have assisted in bringing the percentage down to 5% this year. Last year, we had 212 students on the chronic absence list, and this year we had 184. This graph shows the percentage of students this year with positive and chronic attendance rates broken down by grade level. As you can see, positive attendance rates are stronger in the elementary grades. Action steps targeted toward early intervention supported the growth of positive attendance rates in grades EC through 6, which improved from last year to this year. Our hope is that as these students progress through the grades, their early development of healthy attendance habits will encourage positive attendance in future years and as they enter the upper grades at the junior high school. We believe that positive attendance will have multiple benefits for our students, and we plan to continue efforts to support healthy attendance habits for students in District 39. Steps taken thus far are proving effective and will continue next year. Additionally, we will begin reporting tardy information as research shows that there is a correlation between excessive tardies and chronic absenteeism.
So sustainability planning and practices. The Department of Curriculum Instruction has completed the environmental literacy audit, and an overview of the results will be shared in the next slide. But in regards to the 5 and 10-year facility plans outcome, the business office prepares facility plans that are reviewed annually by the Board of Education with administration, and District 39 continually seeks to identify cost-effective and environmentally conscientious ways to operate. So using 4 strands of environmental literacy components, these are the results. Overall, the audit results confirm that the district's social studies and science curricula provide students with a multitude of learning opportunities. However, part of the analysis was differentiating between knowledge strands and skill strands. So the strengths appear in our content areas through science and social studies. However, one area of growth would be under Strand 4, personal and civic responsibility. So our next step lie in solidifying areas in our curriculum where students can practice or take part in personal action and civic responsibility. While this is definitely present in some grade levels, we can improve for all grade levels. And these findings will be incorporated into our science curriculum review next year. Learning Commons. Ramona, Mackenzie, Harper, and Wilmette Junior High Schools have exceeded the intended outcomes set forth in the 2017-2018 strategic plan. And the Learning Commons initiative will be added to next year's strategic plan as we begin to prepare for construction at Highcrest Middle School. One aspect of the space design will include incorporating the school garden as an extension of the learning spaces, staying true to an outdoor classroom concept. And the principals will now share a few highlights with you.
Ramona opened our Learning Commons this year and quickly learned that the space would be in high demand. The space not only offered our students a chance to be creative, but also our teachers. We have seen a transformation in the types of activities that our students are engaging in. Pictured here, we have creativity, collaboration, critical thinking, and communication, which were all needed by our Ramona third graders as they designed basketball hoops and then coded dash robots to shoot baskets. This lesson connected the third grade force and motion curriculum to March Madness, and the students had a ball. Ramona's youngest students also used the 4 C's and coding. Here, they had to code the bee-bot to get the chick, and the smiles were contagious when they found their baby. The flexibly designed space and furniture in the Learning Commons has made the learning activities accessible to all of our students, whether they're 3 or 10 years old.
So like Ramona, Mackenzie is also seeing quite an increase in usage of our Learning Commons. We have a monthly activity that's organized by our librarian, tech teacher, and DST. It's a drop-in time for teachers to sign up if they would like. So it has greatly increased our attendance in the library and usage of the new space. And it's also focused on cross-curricular standards, which we're trying to promote at Mackenzie. And we would say that it's not only encouraged just the use of our Learning Commons, but it's also created more opportunities for our students to experience the 4 C's. So you will see here that it's not just your typical Valentine's Day cards. Mackenzie 4th graders were creating LED Valentine's Day cards using paper circuits. And a theme in both of these slides that I'll show you is the problem solving that took place. So trial and error to keep working together to find solutions to make it a positive experience. And we also see that it is encouraging the not only academic growth of our students, but also social emotional growth. Here, the students are creating mazes so that their hex bugs can find the hidden garden. So you may see some hex bugs in your own home, but they're robotic creatures, and they're designed to give children a positive experience with robotics at a young age. Again, this was available for all grade levels, and it really encompasses the library standards of thinking, creating, sharing, and growing. And the purpose was to build a maze out of the straws that leads the hex bugs to a hidden garden, knowing what type of sensors the hex bugs are capable of using. Our fourth graders took it to the next level and then eventually came back to the library to create mazes out of Legos, so a more complex task, and they all enjoyed and had a blast.
This was Harper's second year to reflect and focus on the 4 C's. All students at Harper School were presented with at least bi-monthly makerspace challenges. An impressive number of challenges were completed by all students ranging grades K to 4. Over 4,500 challenges were completed. In addition, 100% of all students participated in the Hour of Code, as well as all school or maker days, which took place in December, February, and March.
At Wilmette Junior High, we also focus on the 4 C's of collaboration, critical thinking, communication, and creativity. All students at Wilmette Junior High this year were engaged in activities such as Hour of Code, Reading and Math breakout box challenges, Tinker Thursdays, and virtual reality experiences using Google Goggles. These activities enhance their development of the 4 C's of collaboration, critical thinking, communication, and creativity. I just said that. We first started with staff and utilized our 4 C's committee to develop activities that would help teachers brainstorm and share ways to engage kids in the 4 C's using the different spaces in the Learning Commons. From that learning, the teachers then engaged their students in activities such as the breakout EDU boxes. Those are in the left-hand corner. You'll see a group of kids working on breaking something out of the box. Basically how it works is there's a series of questions that the kids have to answer, think critically about, and they have to communicate to, in the end, unlock the box, and something is in there, a surprise. Students also engaged in collaborative projects to create unique videos for health that promoted wellness and good nutritional choices. That's what the kids in the blue couches are doing. Students also collaborated to gather research and engage in critical thinking to debate the pros and cons of Amazon HQ2 moving to Chicago based on different economic perspectives. So lots of critical thinking, collaboration, communication, and creativity. Next year, we're looking to expand on that by increasing our use of the makerspace in our Learning Commons. We've done some playing and tinkering this year, but we want to build on that in the coming year and really engage teachers first, and then have it trickle down to our kids as they continue to problem solve and learn.
The next section is our annual business. And so I will address 2 of our initiatives at once. So for the Curriculum Review Committee, where we worked on grades, reviewing the grades 5 through 8 related arts course progression, that has been completed and recommendations were presented at the April 23rd board meeting. The middle and junior high school recommendations addressed gaps in the structure and developed strands of study that progressed from grades 5 through 8. And this type of review provides opportunities for the district to evolve in regards to course offerings, making each most relevant for our learners. In addition, the student school day schedules have been implemented for 2017-2018 school year, and the scheduling committee met quarterly to review strengths and or challenges to the new schedules. And the increase in opportunities for elementary teachers to collaborate has been well received and utilized. So during the January 22nd Board of Education meeting, an update on the implementation of the revised kindergarten and grades 1 through 4 standards-based progress reports and report cards were presented. And in regards to grades 5 through 8 standards-based learning and reporting, there were 2 areas of focus: professional development on standards-based practices and a review of the reporting documents at that level. In addition, Highcrest Middle School staff engaged in reviewing District 39 reporting documents and its alignment with the standards-based practices. On this slide are 2 images, and on the left is an image of the current report card for 5th grade, and on the right is an image of the standards-based report card for 5th grade. The standards-based report card allows for teachers of each content area to share information on students as learners. These learner descriptors will address each subject matter separately in contrast to a holistic comment by one homeroom teacher. In addition, parents and students receive more specific progress updates than is currently provided. A single product grade is currently shared that captures a broad overview of the student's progress in a content area like English language arts. However, next year's report card will provide multiple progress indicators for several content-specific standards. This format also ensures consistency of reporting. As you can see, semester 1 and 2 on the current report card provides space for open-ended comments and much variability in content. Next year's document will ensure that each student receives feedback on the same standards. That concludes our presentation. We're happy to answer questions that you may have.
Thank you. Questions from board members? Go for it.
Thank you for the report. There's a lot of information here which reflects the fact that a lot of work was done this year. So I appreciate everybody that had a chance to speak and those of you that didn't. I had 2 small questions and 1 comment. So on the student profile, is that appropriate to share with parents? Is that a plus or a minus? Has that even been considered? I mean, it looked like there's a lot of information about the students.
So the original intent of a learner profile is the relationship between teacher and student so that they share information back and forth on a continuing basis. I can definitely see that as a tool that can be used to share with parents. I think over the summer we will consider that to be part of the guidance.
Yeah, some potentially the continuity from grade to grade. It might be good for, it might be good. I mean, that's something you have to decide, but it occurred to me that that might be useful for parents to understand learning how their child learned also. Right. Let's see. Second, while you're standing up there, it's always a good thing when we talk about a topic for a long time and then make noticeable progress. So I wanted to reemphasize the RTGI, that the 4-quadrant approach. We struggled for a long time trying to figure out how to define the topic, how to look at it. I think that was a big step forward this year, that there is now a structure that can then lead to what do we do about it. But the first step is to understand it and have a structure, and I think that was a big step forward when that came out this year. So I wanted to say thank you for that. And then I had 1 quick question. I'm not sure it's directly answerable, but the report on the number of cases of bullying. There were 2 cases reported. It seems like that would be a very low number. So do we set our standard for counting that too high? I mean, it would be great if there's only 2 cases of bullying in our entire school, but I would be very surprised if that was the case.
There were many cases reporting. We use, we do the education to the students that if you see something that or you don't feel comfortable about something, you need to report that. And at grades 5-8, it can be done anonymously, and then but it's always investigated. Out of the investigations, we did discover that mostly it was social conflict because there was not an imbalance of power. And in 2 cases, it was confirmed that it was really bullying. But even when it's founded to be social conflict, then there are responses, whether it is restorative practices, peace circles. So the whole idea is to catch it quickly so it doesn't lead to bullying. And then that's what we found that we've been successful with. With our EduClimber tool, that we are using to progress monitor academic. We're beginning, and we have the framework established to progress monitor behavior as well too. So those will be recorded, because what we need to be careful of and make sure we're watching is students that are involved in the social conflict. If it's happened repetitively, or we're seeing one student's name that's involved in multiple incidences, that can be an indicator of a student that is bullying others too as well. So we think next year we'll have more exact information and data, but of the investigations the principals take very seriously, and they go through the protocol to determine if it was bullying or social conflict. In the end, 2 were determined to be bullying.
Okay, I think there'd be a way that we could get a little bit more tracking information on that. I mean, 2 is a great number for the way you defined it, but if it's 2 and then next year it's 1 and then the year after that it might be 3, we kind of say, oh, things are staying the same, but that may not be reflecting some things that you were just talking about behind the scenes. Are we getting better? Is there's a blip, whatever. So the number is it's great that it's small, but it may be too small to add value, and we might want to consider it another category also.
Definitely can think of that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Just actually speaking of that, do we keep track of incidents, kids reporting incidents of racism and bigotry? Like when kids call each other terrible racist names or anti-Semitic names, or put swastikas on things. Do we keep track of those things? I'm just curious in the district if we.
Well, up until the use of EduClimber, each principal has kept track, but it's not been a consistent method. With EduClimber, we've now been able to identify exactly what the behavior is, and we can target that. This year was the setup for that program, and next year is when we'll be implementing it. So any misbehavior, unexpected behavior, name calling like that, we will be able to track exactly and divide it into a category and have that information more specifically. But principals have their own methods. 5-8, they do use Power School, and maybe if a principal would want to talk more about that more in depth, but they have different ways to keep track. But using an EduClimber will be more consistent, and we'll have a history then of students using a common tool.
So we will, pardon me. So we will have ways to address the student body in terms of better ways to express themselves to each other, and have a finger on the pulse of how they're really speaking and addressing each other, speaking to and addressing each other.
Yes, and when that does happen, it is addressed. It's addressed with the children that are doing the name calling, and also the targets of the unpleasant remarks that are made. And then I do believe that, depending on the situation, more globally addressed as well, because we don't want to tolerate that at all.
Okay. Other questions? Yeah, go ahead.
I think this fell under the creating a culture of empathy section. The 2 recommendations for software or whatever to track social and emotional learning, DESA and MESH. Yes. 5. Okay. Just specifically, how it said that they will be screened based on how are students going to be screened? How often are they going to be screened, and what types of questions? I mean, what's that look like?
So in grades in the elementary, we selected second grade and fourth grade, and teachers will be completing the screener. It's 8 questions that teachers answer about each student. They're general questions, but then when a student would get a certain score, then there's a more in-depth assessment tool to use, and we will be using that on those students, and then identifying what areas of social emotional development they might be struggling with and provide interventions. In the past, we have done this now because as part of the RTI process, you have the academic side and the behavior side. So we have done this in the past and tried different methods, but with the RTI SEL committee, again, we've looked at tools. Before, we looked at we've looked at trips to the nurse's office. We've done a nomination system with the gym teachers. We've looked at lunchroom recess supervisors. Have you noticed anyone? We're looking for the internalizers more than the externalizers, because the externalizers are very obvious which students. And also our teachers have such great relationships with our social workers that they're going to the social workers directly. But we want to make sure we're not missing any children that might be struggling emotionally on the inside, and we want to be able to provide those supports. Grades 5 through 8, the students actually complete the survey, so they're self-assessing. That was something that we determined we were missing with teacher reporting, is teacher perception, but we're not getting how the students are feeling about their emotions themselves. So we selected this tool to use for grades 5 through 8. It's 2 times a year that they'll be doing it.
Okay, great. So more than once. I like that. Will we or parents be able to see those questions, examples of the questions that are asked in both of those 2 situations? I'd appreciate that.
Sure, yeah, because it's not, it's not a secret at all.
Right.
But also, then we would be communicating with parents if we determined that a child, or if we suspected a child might be struggling. We would definitely be having those conversations with parents.
That was my next question: is when does the parent get notified of whatever results have? I mean, when are they contacted?
It's the same thing as a response to intervention model. Whenever we're providing extra supports for the academic, we would be, for the behavior and emotional, we would be also involving the parents in those discussions and notifying them.
Thank you.
Yeah, it seems like awfully important reporting. And it leads me to kind of consider, how do we as district prioritize what gets reported? I assume there's lots of reports going on all the time for a bunch of different things. And I've noticed just in my own work life that there's lots of reports all the time about different things, and certain things fall off because, you can't do everything. And I wonder, do we track that, and are we careful about the kind of administrative burdens that we're putting on our teachers and administrators, to make sure that they're focused on what we want them to focus on versus reporting?
You're referring to SEL.
I don't know what I'm referring to other than our culture of creating reports in the United States, and how people tend to get lost in new reports.
With tools like EduClimber that we're going to fully access next year, we're going to be tracking all kinds of behavior. That'll be just a data entry from the part of an administrator, and then we can generate. There is a lot more behavior than 2 bullying incidents. There's a lot more, but 2 of them could not be resolved in a way, and therefore they become a higher category. But next year we'll have the opportunity to present that information. And
mine's a broader question, right? So this is important, right? I think in terms of hierarchy of importance. So we should pay attention to this, but are we going to let things that are less important fall off? Which I would encourage you to consider doing.
yeah, keep in mind that we're integrating everything into our response to intervention program, a response to growth intervention, and we can monitor academics, behavior, and it all falls under the same umbrella. So I don't see it as an add-on. It's just more deeply and richly using the tools that we have in place.
And even attendance is connected to all this as well. So everything that we're doing is kind of funneling to provide the support to the students when they need it, as soon as they need it. And all these avenues is looking at the whole child and not just one aspect.
I was blanking for a minute. I meant to also ask who sees this information? Just District 39? It doesn't go anywhere else?
Are you talking about the screeners?
I am.
Yes, just District 39.
Yeah.
It would be the teachers that are answering the questions, then would go to the principals, of course, and the school social workers, and potentially the school psychologist.
So in this report, if we're talking about all the funneling ideas in there, I mean, I understand that attendance, the state of Illinois definitely sees as that's tied to funding. So that would be the only information out of this that we would,
Correct.
okay.
Now, the state does ask as part of our IDA grant, they're not asking names. They ask number of students that we are supporting early intervening services. They just ask a number. And we track that every year and report that. And then out of that number that we provide early intervening services, how many actually then are identified for special ed services?
Okay.
I report that number. It's just numbers.
Thank you.
I don't really have a specific question, but just comments. This is a really dynamic report. Dynamic. You guys have, all of you, our whole team have done so much this year, and I'm seeing, not to belittle any of these initiatives because they're all really important, but I'm just seeing 4 or 5 of them, which are culminations of huge projects that we've been working on over the years that I've been on the board. Kindergarten enrichment, our improving our instructional music program, the growth, monitoring student growth, and really we had a lot of dead ends that we looked at over the years, and we finally come up with a good plan. And just our school day schedule, I don't want to belittle that. This is a 1-year-old, we just did this, 9 months old really. These are all really, and learning commons. I mean, we have 5 successful learning commons that are being so dynamically and creatively used, and we've got a 6th one on the way in the next year and a half, I think. And so these are huge projects and huge initiatives that you guys have accomplished over the last few years. And I mean, there are lots of other great things: the report carding, the attendance, everything we've just been talking about, SEL. And so I want to thank you all. You've been busy this year and busy over the last few years. So I think you should be really proud. We're really proud of what we've accomplished, I think, and what you've accomplished.
Thank you. Other comments, thoughts? I have 2 quick or relatively quick questions. One on the instrumental music program. At one point, for the next steps, at one point we had talked about investigating the possibility of a program that wouldn't require all 5 days. We've had some names that, frankly, in my opinion, haven't been great names, but things like JV Band or Band Light or whatever, which I don't like either of those. But I wanted to see if that is still in the plan. I don't see that as adding for next year. I'm just wondering if that is part of the plan for next year.
That's part of the assessment. We want to take the temperature of how these interventions worked and then get more feedback from parents about that.
Okay, so we're going to do some surveys.
Right, it's not closed, but we're not aggressively going after it. We need to take one step at a time, review, reflect, survey, and then that will give us the guidance for the next steps.
Great. So if that were to happen, we would expect that would be not this coming year, obviously, but the subsequent year. Okay, that helps me on that.
If I may
Yeah.
add one more, in our related arts or creative arts course progression, we have made a conscious effort to make sure that there are other instruments being offered, not just of the physical kind, but also voice, when we have choir and show choir and drumming and guitar. And I think through that process, we have an opening to investigate other types of instruments for the purpose that you are requesting.
Perfect. Thank you very much, and that's a great add. On the RTGI, which I don't know what we're calling, the RTGI, student growth, I love the topic, so thank you very much for all of the work that's been done here. I am very happy, again, with what Frank talked about, the 4-quadrant. I wanted to ask, on the adding student growth quadrant to the annual fall assessment board report, the growth metrics there, are we doing fall to fall growth? Are we doing fall to spring growth? How are we thinking about growth there? Or maybe we don't know yet, which is okay too.
Well, what you would receive, we only have fall to spring right now. So next fall, in the assessment report, you will receive a fall to spring. I think we could then consider a different style of reporting going further, spring to spring. We can look into what's recommended as the best measure, but currently we just have it within 1 year. So you will receive fall to spring.
Got it. That's great. I was going to make a request around that, which is that I would love to see that again in the spring, but for that year, right? So for next year, we would see this year's fall to spring, and then in the spring, we would see next year's fall to spring, and you know, what would be great would be to be able to compare them and say, great, how are we doing? You know, what kind of progress are we making?
Sure.
So that's something to consider.
So as part of our final review of the...
Yeah, like in this meeting, essentially,
Sure.
I could imagine seeing that, or whatever is convenient. I don't, the logistics of it, I don't want to make any requests on at all, just so we get it. I think that's all of my comments, other than, you know, Alice did a great job of reviewing how you are all doing so much work. And one thing that you gave a great list, but one other thing is actually the format of this report is dramatically better than it was 2 years ago, right? I don't know if people don't even remember how this was changed, but you all put a lot of work into making this a report that's really useful. Certainly, speaking for myself, very useful to me, and helps highlight, you know, where we're going. So I appreciate that as well. But thank you all for all of the work.
Thank you.
All right. That is it on this 17-18 D39 strategic plan. That takes us to annual business.
Okay, we can move through these fairly quickly, I believe. First, we have the resolution authorizing July bill payments because the board's not meeting in July. This resolution enables the treasurer to fulfill financial obligations between June 18th, 2018 to August 27th, 2018. And those meetings, Gail, is there anything to add? Okay, administrative transitions. We have a lot to you know, reflect on this evening, as we have two of our very capable administrators moving forward. And because of that, we need to make sure that we have resolutions that are appointing the new people into the positions that will be, for example, the school board treasurer, the authorized agent for IMRF, SELF, SSCIP, and PMA, a new signatory for the activity fund, the payroll, the general bank accounts, an advisory member for the Wilmette Community Special Education Agreement, and all those are for Ellen Crispino. And then we have the policies that, you know, come in E, and then we have, because of Denise's retirement, there are 4 policies that specifically named administrative staff, and because of these upcoming retirements, these policies need to be updated this evening, and those are 2260, the grievance procedure, 520, workplace harassment, and we're asking Katie Lee to then sit there as the complaint manager rather than Denise. And then for the policies of harassment of students and bullying, we will now list Romy DeCristofaro as that complaint manager.
Great, thank you very much. Next up.
Treasurer's bond is this is an annual process. The bond requirement is 25% of our highest cash balance through the fiscal year. And this essentially is the same as it was last year at $14 million. And the premium is the same as well. Gail, anything to add to that one? Okay. Should I keep rolling? Yep. Okay, student fees. We have 2 sets of student fees. One is and we talked about this earlier this evening, the after-school programming at Highcrest and junior high. Because the Youth Connection has gone and is moving forward, we're going to have an after-school drop-in program for students in grades 5-8. The after-school program begins next fall. We have the Highcrest Hawk Nest and the junior high Wolf Den. This drop-in program will be at a cost of $4 a day, much like our lunch program. Students can just sign in. And we do have funds needed to support the students that have financial needs.
One comment on that?
Just a question there. Are you waiting for us to say, okay, go ahead? Or has this been already communicated with those that used Youth Connection services?
We're going to have you approve the fees tonight. But
which in effect approves the program, which then allows you to tell everyone that this is happening.
Right. But we've been telling everybody it's happening.
That's what I wanted to know.
People are aware.
This isn't going to be a big
No,
shock
no,
or surprise
no
or
surprise.
anything. Okay,
Nothing.
thank you.
And then the last one's a jazz ensemble, as we talked about earlier tonight. This program will offer 29 after-school rehearsals for a fee of $125 per student.
Quite a bargain. Yeah, go ahead.
Kind of the same line of questioning. Has the jazz ensemble students, families been made aware
That I don't know.
that this change is coming?
And Kelly Jackson would know that. Nope, not yet. Okay.
Oh.
We're waiting for this approval. Okay.
Okay, do you think there's going to be a reaction to that?
I don't think so. We're going to find. I don't anticipate it.
Do you know how many students this affects?
12 to 15.
Okay.
In each grade, but only.
And then just a logistics question. I understand how moving it outside of the school day helps with the, meeting that goal and the promise essentially of no more than 4 pullouts for sectionals and achieving that. I don't understand why there wasn't a cost associated with it currently, that moving it out of the school day has.
The cost was academic time of students. There was a significant cost to children academically being pulled out of their classrooms. And that was a directive that we got from the school board, and this is our recommended solution.
So as a result of it being outside the school day, it now costs $125.
That is correct. It's an extracurricular activity. We redefined the program.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Other thoughts on that? If not, board policy review, please.
Okay, we have 3 of 5 policies that have been updated to reflect the suggested changes from the board since the first reading in May. And Dr. Glowacki, anything to add to that?
Okay, comments or questions? Great. That takes us to our second opportunity for the audience to address the board. Are there any audience members who would like to speak at this time? Yep. Please come forward, state your name, your community of residence, and you will have 3 minutes to speak. And please use the microphone, thanks. No, not yet.
How about this?
That's on.
My name's Sally Ann Garner. I've lived in Wilmette since I was born in 1942. I raised my children here, and my children are now raising their children here. So I'm a big fan of Wilmette, not always a fan of your taxes. I think the compromise that you have reached with kindergarten, where parents have the option of paying for another half day, is very sound, and I'm grateful for that. I just want to share with you what's happening with my grandchildren, ages 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So my 5-year-old will be going to kindergarten this year. Her parents work. All my grandchildren have parents who work full-time. They need their children someplace full day. The option of using the Wilmette Park District has proved not to be very viable because let's take my 5-year-old grandchild, she'd have to go in for early care, then she would go to the enrichment for a different class, then she would go to lunch, then she would get on a bus, take the bus to McKinsey, then have to take the bus back to the Wilmette Park District. The Wilmette Park District, she has an allergy to dairy. The Wilmette Park District, and talking to their dietitian, said she'd have to fill out all these forms and really made it very clear that a child with that difficulty would be very hard for the Wilmette Park District to accommodate. So the end result is that her parents have decided to send her to St. Joe's. And this is not a Catholic family. It's a family that would have preferred to keep their child in the District 39, but it really wasn't viable to ask a 5-year-old to have those many transitions during her day. So again, thank you for the progress you've made on this.
Thank you very much. Any other comments at this time? Great. Seeing none, we'll continue with our agenda to our consent agenda and other action items. The first is, the next order of business is the consent agenda. Are there any items that the board would like pulled from the consent agenda? Seeing none, Mr. Penzica, please proceed with the motion.
I move to approve the personnel report dated June 18, 2018. I move to approve the attached support staff union SSU letter of agreement indicating changes to technology stipends. I move to approve Beth Albert, Allison Buchemi, and Bunament and Aaron Stone to serve as members at large on the Community Review Committee, CRC. I move to approve the attached resolution authorizing payment for goods and services between now and next board meeting scheduled for August 27, 2018. I move to adopt the resolution contained herein appointing Ellen Crispino, succeeding Gail Buscemi as Wilmette Public Schools Cook County District 39 Treasurer. I move to approve Ellen Crispino as the authorized agent for Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund, the School Employees Loss Fund, and the Suburban Schools Cooperative Insurance Pool, effective July 1st, 2018. In addition, adopt the resolution reauthorizing participation in the Illinois School District Liquid Asset Fund by the Board of the School District, on behalf of which the Treasurer acts. I move to approve Ellen Crispino, succeeding Gail Buscemi, Treasurer, as our new signatory for the Activity Fund, Payroll, and General Bank Accounts, effective July 1st, 2018. I move to approve the appointment of Ellen Crispino as the District 39 Advisory Board member on WCSEA, WCSEA. I move to approve the attached renewal of the State of Illinois School Treasury Bond in the amount of $14 million. I move to approve the HMS WJHS after-school programming fee at $4 per day. I move to approve the jazz ensemble fee of $125 per student. I move to approve as first and final reading of the revised Board of Education Policies 2:260, Uniform Grievance Procedure, 5:20, Workplace Harassment Prohibited, 7:20, Harassment of Students, 7:180, Preventing Bullying and Other Aggressive Behaviors. I move to approve as second and final reading revised Board of Education Policies 6:280, Grading and Promotion, 6:290, Homework, 6:340, Student Testing and Assessment Program, 6:341, Research, 6:342, Equal Educational Opportunities. I move to approve the accounts payable for bills listed between May 22nd, 2018 and June 18, 2018 in the following amounts. Educational Fund, $364,641.71. O&M Fund, $331,645.48. Debt Service, $101,346,025. Transportation Fund, $193,885.51. Capital Projects, $114,365. Tort Fund, $12,450, for a total all funds of $1,118,333.95. I move to approve the manual checks issued between May 22nd, 2018 and June 18, 2018 in the following amounts. Educational Fund, $532,206.44. O&M Fund, $3,184.61. Transportation Fund, $4,344.87, for a total all funds of $539,735.92.
Thank you very much, and just for clarity, I understood the debt service number to be $101,346.25. Is that what you were suggesting?
Yes.
Great, thank you very much. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Yes.
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 Yes. The motion is carried. We now move on to old business. Is there any old business? Do we have any new business? Okay, I have a couple of items of good and welfare. I'm going to start with Ms. Gail Buscemi. She has been with us for over 9 years at D39, but over 18 years in education, and this is her last board meeting tonight. Gail, I want to share, if you don't mind, a personal memory that I have of yours, and you know how much I talk about the growth mindset and growth metrics and those kinds of things. I remember very well when you started the job that you're currently in, and we were talking about how this would work out. And you, if you don't mind my saying, were not a big fan of public speaking. One of the things that Dr. Lechner told us at the time was, you know, she is incredibly solid. She's going to get much, much better at that. And I have to say, your growth has been spectacular. I think you do a great job. And I think that is one way that you should be very proud of developing all the way up through the end of your career. Your service is wonderful to us. It's been wonderful to others, I'm sure, as well. But thank you for all of your service and the great job you've done. And then I want to turn to Dr. Thrasher. Denise, you've been with us for 10 years, you told us. Ray was just saying that you were one of his very first hires, but you've been in education for 40 years, is that right? That's wonderful. I want to share a personal story about you as well, a personal memory, which is that as you became the assistant superintendent, we were also having a discussion about how this would work out. There was no doubt, of course, but you know, one thing that stuck with me was that Dr. Lechner said, you know, what's really amazing is that in all of the years that you ran our special education program and, you know, served in D39, he could remember virtually zero complaints from any parents ever about special education. And he, as a former special education person himself, you know, said, this is unheard of. You know, this is amazing, and it just is a testament to the wonderful job that you've done for the district, for the students that you've served, for their parents, and for all of us. Thank you for all of your service. We will miss you both. Are there any other comments for good and welfare? All right. That being said, may I seek a motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss collective bargaining, potential litigation, specific personnel, and student discipline.
I move to adjourn to executive session to discuss collective bargaining, potential litigation, specific personnel, and discipline, and student discipline.
May I have a second?
Second.
Motion having been made and seconded, will the clerk please call the roll?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes, the motion is carried. We are now in executive session. The time is 8:58 p.m.
Gail too, correct? June 20, let's be, yeah.